Welcome to the Game Professor Podcast, where the students have taken over and we profess our love and hate for all things video games. This week, apparently Bioware is on the market as we discuss where a good landing spot might be. Take-Two is looking for that early cash, and paywalls the trailer. We get into some creative use of AI in games as we discuss chalk warfare. Razer wants you to hit all of its buttons on with its new mouse. A developer is giving us a pay-per-kill game, and it only costs money per death. And if we have time, we get into Halo, the most recent release. But first, apparently, Nvidia DLSS 5 is on the way, as it has officially been announced with a launch of fall 2026. And the system will operate exclusively on the new, not the new, but the current RTX 50 series cards, with previous generations, including the 40 series and older, being not supported. While early technology preview demos at GTC conference were run on dual GeForce RTX 5090 setups, the consumer release will support a single card, because thank goodness no one's dropping 10 grand to be able to use DLSS 5.
Oh, you know who would.
Yeah, Randy Pitchford.
Exactly, nailed it.
Anyways, we have talked about it a little bit. There was a whole controversial trailer at one point. But just to kind of go over it a little bit, DLSS 5 shifts from the simple upscaling to a full real-time neural rendering pipeline, meaning you're basically doing generative AI from frames, rather than just kind of interpolating and expanding, yada, yada, yada. It utilizes a neural rendering model to actively infuse pixels with photoreal lighting and materials. The toolkit includes 3 customizable artificial intelligence models. Game developers gain per object control over structure and tone settings, ensuring AI maintains the game's unique artistic style without generating visual artifacts. Of course, if you look at that demo they put out a while ago, I'm not sure how much retaining the art style was there. Supposedly it brings Hollywood-level visual effects into real-time interactive gameplay. Yada, 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 yada. Smooth resolution, 4K, ba, 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 ba. I would like to point out that as we get into it here, except for DLSS 1.0, which was delayed and was supposed to launch early, but ended up being in 2019, DLSS 2.0 and 3.0 and 4.0 have all launched the same year as new GPU lineups. That will not be the case with this launch, so it will be the first one since the original to not get a new set of GPUs, and I think we all know why, as I would imagine that early in 2027 was probably supposed to be a new lineup of GPUs.
Yeah.
And that's just not going to happen in the current climate. Now, I did see a rumor that said the 60 series is being prepped, but it is being prepped with all the same current memory standards we have, i.e. they're not bumping up the VRAM on any of the level of cards, which also makes sense, but that was a little instantiated, so I'm only mentioning it here rather than like giving a full segment to it. I will say that supposedly at launch of DLSS 5, Starfield, Hogwarts, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Resident Evil Requiem, and Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered should be supported, so you'll be able to see what that looks like. I think the only one I really care about here, just because I'd be interested to see what it looks like, would be the Oblivion one. Even though it's a remastered, still based off of that kind of old school tech, so I'd be curious to see what it looks like. But we all know that it's just going to be the new crutch that developers use.
Yeah, it's like, ugh. I mean, that's why I'll just stick with FSR 1.
Yeah, well, I mean, you'll probably get a new FSR at some point, too.
Yeah, but WoW won't implement it, so here we are.
That's fair.
I swear that I think they are still on FSR 1.
Are they probably? You might have to look that up and tell me at some point. Or if you know, put it in the comments. I did find this little piece of information interesting. It's not really substantial at all, but on some social media posts that I saw going around, it apparently pointed out that 6 of the 9 best-selling PlayStation games in July were either old games or remasters of old games that are over a decade old. And that 7th out of 9 game is Palworld, which is, a multi-year-old game. So out of the 9 games, only 2 of them were currently released games, and those 2 were yearly sport releases.
Yeah, college football and whatever the FC is.
Yeah. I imagine like some soccer/football thing.
Yeah, probably. I mean, unfortunately, in this social media post, which was by the Act Man in particular, he highlighted the fact that modern gaming is quote unquote scuffed, right? and honestly, he's right. He really is just right.
Yeah. I mean, it's and we're talking about this. So, Call of Duty Black Ops 2 and 1 at 8.2 and 3 million. Black Flag Resynced at 1.6. Sport Game at 1.3, 1.1. Grand Theft Auto 5, which was a 2013 game with the sequel coming out, was still at 846,000 copies. Minecraft at 501, Palworld at 480,000, and Halo Campaign Involved at 351,000.
The only exception I see, honestly, to this list is Minecraft. It's specifically being a decade-old game, quote-unquote, right? And the only reason I say that is because Minecraft has been repeatedly updated. Whereas, Black Ops 2 has been Black Ops 2.
I mean, if you're going to go that route, Resynced and Campaign Evolved are remasters, right?
But
and
at
Grand
the
Theft
exact
Auto
same time,
5 is the current Grand Theft Auto with GTA Online, so I mean,
at the exact same time, when it comes to the remakes or slash remasters slash resyncs, whatever the hell we want to call them nowadays, it's those, in my opinion, with the fact that they are being remastered in the first place, really goes to show that no one wants modern games. And I don't think it's that we don't want modern games. It's not that we don't want new things. I mean, look at Pragmata, right? Like, it's amazing. We always want new things. The fact of the matter is that they're not giving us new things. They're giving us slop.
Yep. And there are 2 new things we'll discuss this week. One of them I think could be interesting, and the other one might be a little rough. But I think the point here is that old games were designed to be self-sufficient. They weren't designed to be live service games. And you got a complete experience from them without it being piecemealed out. And so when you get this excitement over old games or remasters of games, it's because the whole package is there. It's awesome. Go enjoy it.
Yep. And I mean, there's very few developers that are making new games, and most of them are indie, that are actually full experiences. I would just like to throw the hat in for RimWorld. RimWorld in and of itself is a complete and total experience. And then they just have expansions.
Yep. Well, and it's, DLC is one thing versus, hey, you have to play in the battle pass and yada, yada, yada. But
yeah, exactly. They're just straight up expansions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is totally fine. But I just found this interesting. I'm sure we'll see more examples of it as time goes on. Moving on from that, though, I did want to get into, this isn't strictly game related, but since we keep having the digital discussion, I did find this interesting because this is kind of the thing we warn about constantly. But in early August, aka within the last 2 weeks of this year, of right now, a Reddit user by the name of You Going Down Sokka 1 revealed that their purchased digital copies of Lord of the Rings extended editions had vanished from their Google Play/Google TV library. The user originally purchased the Peter Jackson trilogy digitally in 2022, aka 4 years ago. And according to the social media coverage, Google support initially confirmed the movies were removed from their catalog and bluntly stated to the customer, and he had posted screenshots, that they would not be compensated. And the reason they were given by support was that the purchase was past Google's 120-day refund window, leaving the user without the films or the money. So he bought movies, 3 of them, and his purchase got him a 4-year rental.
Yep. Pretty much. I mean, it's bullshit.
Yeah, it definitely is. But this is the thing we warn about with digital. Now, if you're buying digital for the digital convenience, that's totally fine. But the concern is that, hey, you need to be wary and probably expect that those aren't things you're keeping forever, unless it's whatever company's policy that you exist with, Steam, that you do own them and they will be available to you to download even if they're removed from purchase.
Yep.
So be wary of that. Now, to be fair, obviously this generated a huge amount of backlash, and so a senior Google support supervisor stepped in, apologized, and admitted the removal was quote-unquote a mistake, and Google credited his account €20 as compensation for the ordeal. However, the provided fix was broken, and the recovery links Google sent direct to the user to YouTube, where they are prompted to pay for the movies all over again. So he did get €20, but he still can't watch the movies, and I'm sure they cost in total more than €20.
Oh, almost guaranteed, yeah. Yeah, I would not be surprised in the slightest if they are actually more than that.
Now, to be fair, there I think 1 or 2 of them were working, but one of them was unavailable fully. So, again, this is digital. Like, be expected, it is what it is. This wasn't a literal story that had just occurred, and we've been talking about digital so much, so I figured I'd bring this up as a good example of what could happen in, unfortunately, the worst case scenario. And if you don't go viral, you're not getting those movies back or any money.
Very much. So. Yeah, just a single extended edition is $15. So yeah, that not enough.
There you go. Well, if he was truly only missing one, maybe he can buy his one version somewhere else.
Sure, but at that point, I would be like, no, $20 is for the inconvenience. Give me my fucking movie back.
You're not wrong. Unfortunate. But that's all we have for our smaller intro pieces. Let's get on to the first big one in business and econ. Alrighty, as always, in over our head with some of the business material, but I find this one a little interesting along with a potential thought experiment. But according to tweets on August 7th, 2026, industry insider Mike Straw reported that EA is thinking about selling Bioware. They noted that EA is looking to reduce the cost following the Saudi-led acquisition, which was approved and will be going through. Supplemental research confirmed that on August 4th, 2026, the consortium led by Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund officially finalized the $55 billion leveraged buyout. However, I did find it interesting while doing this research that initially EA's debt was like $2 billion, and because of the way that the debt was handled and the bank loans, that it has ballooned to like 20 billion on the balance sheet.
Jeez.
So it basically means that EA is going to try to cut probably hundreds of millions. I think the number I saw was somewhere was like 700 million. So they're looking to move things and get some money back and reduce overhead costs. And of course, the best way to do that would be to let go of one of your legendary studios. Whether or not the legendary people are still there is up for debate. But
True.
A studio with a huge amount of very, very valuable IPs, let's say. I'm not sure that's the move, but here we are.
That is fair.
So, I want to know for you, and I'll highlight this here for you. If EA were to actually sell it, what companies would you like to see them sell it to, or where do you think would be a good landing spot for BioWare? And if anyone that doesn't know, BioWare is going to be the company famously for Dragon Age Veilguard, Mass Effect, I think Jade Empire, and KOTOR, but they don't obviously own the Star Wars IP. So you're talking about a studio with a few IPs under its belt that can be revisited.
So unironically, I think that my ideal studio would be Capcom.
Yeah, at the moment, I could see that.
Because, like, they know how to create a new IP. Resident Evil has been amazing.
Yep.
Monster Hunter, it had some issues, but it's on a significantly higher track than basically any video game out there.
It does seem like that since that Monster Hunter release, Capcom has gone in a good quality direction.
Agreed. Yeah. I don't know if BioWare has their own engine that they use.
They did back in the day. It was a heavily modified engine. But that was one of the problems with... I forget. I mean, Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 was one of my favorite series. Andromeda, but I always forget the name of that version because it was so lackluster. But one of the problems that they had, and the reason they had all the bugs and the terrible lip sync in Andromeda is because they switched, I believe, to the Unreal Engine. They switched to a general engine at that time. Or they had switched to... I just know they switched engines. So I think they moved off of a specific proprietary one.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't remember if BioWare was using CryEngine heavily modified or not. But yeah, at the end of the day, the RE engine from Capcom was a struggle bus for sure. When they originally started using it. But it has improved significantly, as shown in Monster Hunter World, Monster Hunter Wilds, and the latest Resident Evils.
I do remember the polygons, though.
I do too. But that was a beta.
Okay.
Okay, that one's fair. It was a beta.
That's fair. It wasn't released yet. Oh, sure.
And I haven't had that problem since after the release. So... yeah. But anyways, so there's also quite a bit of mod support for the RE engine, which is also really nice because I think that's one thing that BioWare's primary IPs don't really get a lot of.
Yep.
So that would be kind of nice. What about you?
What's that?
What about you?
Well, so I don't know if I legitimately have... I think Capcom is probably, if we want the best gaming result,
right,
probably the best option. I mean, I would personally love to see Valve pick them up, but then we'll only ever get 2 games. So
you're right. We'll get 2 games and then a bunch of spin-offs. Yeah.
Before they just stop making them entirely. But outside of that, I think a realistic option that may end up with a good game, as much as I hate to say it, would be Tencent. Although you'd probably see a lot of microtransactions in there.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not saying I'd like it, but in terms of an actual plausible scenario, Tencent does have the money. So they could pick that up, and I mean, I would take that over Sony, Microsoft, or Amazon games.
True.
I mean, you just look at any of those companies. How's Bungie doing? How's multiple Microsoft studios doing? How's any Amazon game studio doing? The only other God, and I because we'll get into it later too, but like GTA 6 is rough from a consumer standpoint, but if this sale doesn't go through immediately, and let's say it legitimately tries to take off at the start of next year, Take-Two's going to have all that GTA money. So
Yep.
what RPG properties do they have so they can diversify a little bit here? That could be a possible solution. I would contemplate unaliving myself if Ubisoft bought them. Not
Unironically,
but
Skydance Media wouldn't be terrible either. It's definitely not because I own a lot of stock in them at all.
That's fair.
But still, I do think, because I know they have been working on AAA titles for quite a while. And I mean, just them acquiring Bioware pretty much just puts them in AAA range immediately.
True.
Right. And it being a media / entertainment conglomerate, it has the money.
Yeah.
Not as much as Microsoft, granted. But I honestly think that if Microsoft tries to buy them, it gets blocked by the FTC.
No, I just don't think it would go through at this point. They've absorbed too many things.
Yes, exactly. It just gets blocked by the FTC easily.
Yep.
They'd be like, no, we saw what you did. Since
100%.
and no.
How about no?
And it's stupid because what they did was literally predicted by the then FTC chair. So,
How about no, Ashara? How about no?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think Sony will do it either. They just bought Bungie a few years ago.
Yep.
And they've had, the $400 million Concord failure. They laid off half of the Bungie studio. Marathon's limping along at 5,000 or less people on a
There's one that you
user
don't
basis.
have in here. There's one that you don't have in here.
Well, I had to stop at some points.
That's fair. There is 30 in here.
For anyone who doesn't see
Studios.
it, I put in a list of potential things just to look at and give ideas. That's what he's looking at.
Kojima Studios.
So I have the same problem with Kojima Studios that I do CD Projekt Red, which is, do they have the actual capital or
That's fair.
leverage, to take out a loan, which would be a huge risk, to pick up BioWare? I mean, in terms of a studio that I think would do it justice, sure, Kojima loves games, and he would just want them to make a good game. So yeah, awesome, go for it. But it's just, do they have the actual capital?
Yeah, that's very true. I will say, I see Larian Studios in here too, and I'm just like, nah, neither of
but
those
here's the
games.
Thing. They've wanted to do something new.
That's true.
So if they
Baldur's
could come
Gate
up
was
with
amazing.
the capital, yeah. So if they got the capital, this would give them new IPs to explore that have a rich history and backstory and world to go for.
Yeah. That's true.
But
I think you could absolutely turn Dragon Age and probably even Mass Effect into more of a CRPG, but
that's if they wanted to do that. Because the way that they talked, I know it was different IP, but it also didn't necessarily sound like they wanted to make the exact same game style either. But, I mean, it's not like it's outside the realm of the crazy. It would give them the opportunity, instead of creating an IP from scratch, to focus on getting the gameplay right, because they already have an extensive universe, so they're not starting from zero when they're designing their story and locations.
Yeah. And the last big question mark that I think would try and has the money to do it would be Universal.
Yeah, I could. Well, I mean, Comcast was starting to get out of a lot of their. Well, I mean, NBC Universal got split off, so
yes, exactly. It's a subsidiary. It's still owned by Comcast, but it's a subsidiary.
I don't know if they have the stomach though because you're not going to buy that just for the IP, for the visual media portion of it. You would buy it to do both, right? You would buy it to do the TV show /movie and the game tie-in, plus all the merchandising.
you can look at it that way, but you can also look at it as we buy the studio, and then we have the IPs, we lay off the whole studio. This is stupid. I hate it, but it's a thing, okay? It's a thing that could happen. You buy the studio, you now own the IPs, you lay off the entire studio, and then you contract out the games.
Sure.
And then you use them as just, money printers.
I always find that silly, though. It's like,
yeah, I agree.
We bought the studio. We laid off the people. Okay, now we need to hire people to make the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I thoroughly agree. But the problem is that if you buy the studio, you then have to manage the studio.
Yeah. I think, I don't think it'll happen because I don't think they have the stomach for it. But I think it would be interesting if someone like Disney picked it up and actually kept the studio. Because obviously you have the Mass Effect and Dragon Age IPs, but you now also have an RPG studio. And you have lots of Disney properties.
I think,
because I know you have your Kingdom Hearts, but I do think actually having like a more traditional Western style RPG where you go and talk to a bunch of characters would be something that is still attractive to people.
That is fair.
I don't think it's likely in any way.
No,
but it could be interesting where to come from it.
I would almost see like Warner Brothers picking it up before Disney.
Well, but the problem is Warner Brothers literally diversified themselves from almost everything except for like Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah, that's very true.
Not diversify, divested themselves of basically everything from except for Hogwarts Legacy. Which, by the way, I saw a rumor last minute that Hogwarts Legacy 2 is in the works, and they're trying to add multiplayer to it. Well, do you put like a PvP Quidditch game in there?
I mean, you could, but at that point, just make a PvP Quidditch game. And make it free to play, and put some fucking microtrans in there, and just call it a fucking day.
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
That's what I would do, and honestly, I'd probably play it.
Or do you make the real ridiculous, you're using a wand, but basically playing a shooter multiplayer, where you're just spitting out little balls of light from your wand, and your character's constantly saying the same spell over and over again.
Oh, jeez. Just to bring it up because, like you mentioned it, I'm really, really, really surprised that gaming didn't lean into more unique peripherals.
Yeah, like what?
That were sold with the game, right?
Specifically Hogwarts?
Specifically fucking anything. Right? Imagine Wii Sports, but Dark Souls.
I mean, okay. I got to put this topic down somewhere because there have been a history of these over the years, for sure, that have existed. And I don't know if you know a lot of them or not.
Probably not.
But you're right. It hasn't happened as of lately. It was very prevalent in whatever it was, the 7th generation, the 360 PS3 era. It was so prevalent. I remember so many just off the top of my head. So I'll make that a segment. But it would be... I mean, here's the thing. It's just too much overhead nowadays, right? It's too expensive to do a small, unique run of, like, plastic injection molded specialty things.
Yeah, I know.
For that to be the case.
Yeah,
but
I mean, it really is. All right, at that point, you almost just go into VR and call it a day.
I mean, true. But remind me when we're done here, and I'll make that a topic to do at some point, because I think that would be fun to pull up a list of things. Yes. Alrighty. Outside of that, I did put a little piece here, still from Bioware, where a former Dragon Age executive, Mark Darrah, stated that developers should absolutely listen to player feedback, but they shouldn't let players design the solutions to a game's problems. He explained, that players are really, really good at identifying problems. What they're a lot less good at is identifying solutions. They're not developers, they're game players, end quote. And it stems from a YouTube video with the published title, Why Listening to the Community is Bad Advice. So, what do you think of that?
So, the problem is that he's half right. Yep. There are absolutely players out there who can identify problems lickety-split. But at the exact same time, there are also plenty of players who can identify good solutions. You know, whether or not they think the whole thing through as a game developer is a whole other story, right? But there are players out there. They are usually, especially when you're considering live service games and games as a service, they're usually your top end players, right?
Yeah, 100%. So here's what I would say. First of all, I think you're right. The statement that has existed throughout time of I know what I don't like, but I don't know what I like, right?
Yep.
is very true, right? So people tend to understand when they're not happy with something, but don't necessarily know what is going to make them happy until they actually get it.
True.
I think the thing here is that it depends, and I think you're right, based off of how vocal some people are, how intelligent people are, their background. But I think there's a really easy rule of thumb here, is how successful was the last game you made? Because if your last game was very successful, then generally I think you're right. If people are talking about things they don't like, but it was very popular, really well reviewed by the community, sold well, had a lot of players, even if it's for a short period of time, had a lot of players, I think you can clearly say, yes, we made the right decisions. There may be problems, but fixing those how players want them fixed may have caused bigger problems. So I think we're in a good spot. We're just going to do small tweaks. However, I will point out that as well reviewed as it was by official outlets, Dragon Age Veilguard sold like poop. So, I mean, you have a very vocal community that told you what they didn't like, and a large portion of them probably didn't buy your game, or bought it and returned it, or saw the reviews and saw what was in it and said, absolutely not, I don't want to play that. So clearly you don't know what makes it a desirable game for gamers. You may have made an artsy game that definitely appealed to reviewers, but you didn't make a game that appealed to the majority of gamers. So at that point, you may want to take some constructive criticism.
Yeah, and I think generally a good rule of thumb would be that you should absolutely listen to the complaints, and you should listen to the solutions that people provide you, but you should probably take those back to a round table of developers who actually know what the fuck they're doing and talk about the end goal of said solution and whether or not that actually solves the problem.
I think that's 100% fair. Does this fit into the identity of our game? What are we trying to do with our game? And does this make the experience better and facilitate what our goals are for the game?
Yeah, and like, as someone who is part of multiple class communities and spec communities in WoW and regularly provides feedback on these characters and on these, design philosophies, it's one of those things where, like, you have to listen, and if they weren't listening, then they would just freaking veer off to the left, and everyone would be like, we don't even understand what this class is anymore.
What is happening?
Yeah, exactly.
I am with you. I do think it's the developer, or the job of the developers, to make sure they have their ear to the ground when people are disappointed in something, to see if it's a big enough problem that needs to be fixed. And if it is, maybe you go out there, sample a few of the suggestions, and then, as you said, run it by a team and say, what do we think of this? And if not, do any of you have any ideas? Because we're the developers.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Maybe we have the ideas to actually fix this. But that's why I'm like, I understand where he's coming from. Generally, I agree with you. It's like a 50-50 statement, but I do think that whether or not your game's failing because the budget was too big is obviously a factor, but if people aren't buying your game and your game isn't successful, you can make an artsy game that you love, but it's not going to pay the bills. So you may want to figure out what it makes gamers happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty. And I want to PSA real quick, don't attack the developers.
True.
Of any game. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter what they've done, right? Let the law handle that if they've done something crazy. But don't attack the developers, especially the developers as a whole. 9 times out of 10, a lot of the decisions made in these games are entirely above the developers' heads. They are just doing what they're told. They have a job just like you and me, and they are just trying to make a living. If they're told, go make this character, no, that character's too square, make it round, that's how it's going to be.
I think it's a good rule of thumb for literally any conversation you have on the internet. Treat the conversation as if you were talking to an acquaintance. I'm not saying a good friend. Right. I'm not saying an enemy. I'm saying somebody that you see on occasion, meaning you're going to have another interaction with them at some point again. Treat the conversation as if you were talking to an acquaintance, and that's how you should speak. Does that mean you can give pretty rough criticism? Sure. Does that mean you should be an animal about it? Absolutely not.
Probably not, no.
If it's going to get you sent to HR, don't say it.
On that same note, I honestly think this type of a video comes from a developer who is rather jaded and probably has been publicly attacked numerous times.
True. But I mean, absolutely, definitely, because again, their last game was very polarizing and did not sell nearly well enough. So yes, I'm very sure that that's probably the experience that they've had.
I mean, Inquisition didn't sell well either.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
So
but I do think that one was a lot more appreciated by both reviewers and the community.
Yeah.
So even though it didn't sell as well as it would have needed to, I don't think there would have been as much vitriol being sent the developers' way, at least. There was definitely some.
Yeah.
But not nearly as much as from this last one, I would say.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Moving on from there. Speaking of business and making money and being profitable, Take-Two and Rockstar Games, in their infinite wisdom, has decided to put Trailer 3, which is, referred to as a first of its kind and extended look, behind a paywall, and that paywall being Netflix. So...
What the heck?
Yeah. So the trailer on August 27th is going to premiere exclusively for Netflix subscribers at 3 p.m. Eastern. For anyone who thinks that this is ridiculous, I tend to agree with you. However, you do only have to wait 6 hours until 9 p.m. Eastern, at which point it will also be available on all the official YouTube channels.
Man, this is developers and game studio companies taking the idea of Patreon to the next level. That's literally what this is. And that's insane to me.
Yeah. Even industry insiders are like, paywalls make a lot of sense for a lot of content, but definitely not a GTA 6 trailer, which was Tom Warren. Look, I'm not necessarily agree with paywalls makes a lot of sense for a lot of content, but I do get the point he's making, which we can all agree that this is a step too far. Absolutely.
Definitely. Well, and like the 6-hour thing, here's what's really going to be funny about that, okay? It's going to be on YouTube well before then.
I mean, if it leaks, Rockstar, while it has had leaks in the past, has definitely clamped down on a lot of things. So.
Oh yeah, I get it. I 100% understand that. However, what I'm saying is that it premieres at 3. It however long it is, let's say it's like 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think the rumor that I saw was like 20-ish minutes or something. So
sick. 20 minutes. someone's going to record it, if not many someone's, and it's going to be uploaded in the time it takes to compile the video and upload it.
I
Plain
have
and
to
simple.
imagine that YouTube or Take-Two is probably already with YouTube and going,
Oh yeah,
we need this to be turned super aggressive up. We don't care about false flagging content for the next or for 6 hours on the 27th. So make it so.
YouTube's just not going to do that though. False flags hurt creators a lot.
I don't say that. I agree with you, but we've literally had conversations about people's content. Dude, I constantly, I don't put it in here every week because it would just be endlessly the same thing over and over again. But with the advent of AI, I have seen constant discussions of people's own original content being flagged because it was used in some AI version of a song or a picture or a video, and then that AI creator copyrighted it. So the original person is now having to try to deal with the YouTube team saying, this is all my original content. What the hell's going on?
I mean, you solve this problem as the government by just making it to where AI content cannot be trademarked or copyrighted.
I mean, you're not wrong, but how do you do it? I mean, I think, what was it? Was it Claude that just talked about, or ChatGPT or something, just talked about how all their text responses are going to have hidden AI identifiers in there. And someone's like, just put it into translate and then translate it back. Because, that would remove any sort of, no matter what you do, you have to have an identifier to consistently trigger that. And there's ways to remove those. So it's a never ending battle. And unfortunately, YouTube is most likely going to err on the side of caution every time, which does hurt the people who are making the original content. But
it does.
That's just my personal opinion on the matter. Either way, this all stems from the fact that there is a paywalled trailer, which I do agree with you, probably on YouTube. We'll see how quickly it gets taken down. But it is, and I've seen GTA, I don't want to say grifter, but GTA dedicated accounts already making posts like, got my Netflix subscription ready to go. And it's like, why? Why are you writing it this hard, bro? It's a trailer. You're going to pay Netflix for a 6-hour advantage to a trailer to a game you can't even play?
Right.
Like, what is happening?
Yeah, I mean, it's purely insane. And honestly, I'm curious. When did you say this was?
August 27th.
August 27th? All right. So I'm really curious what's going to happen to the Netflix website on August 27th at 3 p.m. Because for Rockstar Games to have the cojones to be able to do this, Netflix is going to blast it all over their shit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm curious as to what the money is, right? Because it's only a 6-hour exclusive deal.
Yep.
So basically the money you're getting is from the marketing, right? GTA on Netflix. That's where the money's really, the value's coming from. So how much are they actually paying Take-Two for this? That's what I want to know.
Or is it the other way around?
I mean, I don't think so, because I think Rockstar Games knows this game is going to be huge anyway, so wherever they put the trailer, it's going to be big. So I don't think they need to spend money anywhere to make it exclusive.
That's fair.
So, I mean, I'm sure Amazon would have done the same thing if they were willing to do it, or if it was a little cheaper. Only on Amazon Video this August 27th. Come see the GTA trailer.
Yep.
Watch GTA go prime time on Prime Video with its first extended look trailer.
Okay, relax, buddy.
Anyways, ridiculous, absolutely obnoxious. We'll see what happens. I just found the whole thing ridiculous. Any other comments on that?
Nope.
All right, let's get into a more interesting, fun potential for a game in shop class. All right, we take a look at the tech tools in the industry in shop class, and a newly announced, well, not newly announced title, but newly revealed title, Chalk Warfare, which is based off of a YouTube viral series. Have you seen this series, Heru? It is a little older.
I have not.
Okay. For anyone that doesn't know, it's a Freddie Wong style, God, what is it, like rocket jump style of YouTube CGI video, so done by a small team, where it's basically an FPS video, like, you know, real life short, where everyone has to draw their weapons with chalk, and then they can bring them to real life, and then they're shooting chalk at other people. That's where like the CGI comes in, and there's like a whole series of these videos that, I mean, cumulatively have like, I think, hundreds of millions of views. So they were pretty big at the time. They're, like I said, they're a little older, but it's a wonderful, fun video to watch. So if you want a little bit of action and you haven't seen these videos, go check them out. They're fun. I love this, and I think this is the things that I want to see AI actually provide, because we'll get into it, but they're utilizing AI to bring this game to life, because how else would you be able to draw a weapon and have the game create that weapon for you with a set of standards based off of the attachments that you draw on the gun, right? I can see an extremely complicated piece with a lot of overhead without the use of AI. And so I don't really think it's necessarily something that would be viable or feasible without the use of AI. So let's get into a little bit of it specifically. So they were showing it off at Unreal Fest in Chicago, which is why we actually got to see a little bit of it. And they did a whole background video on like leading up to it and getting it ready. It's supposed to be basically a game that has team deathmatch, King of the Hill, battle royale mode, and a few other things. But obviously, like I said, the core concept is you're generating weapons from drawn pieces of chalk art. You, the player, have to draw it. So instead of using preset loadouts, you draw the weapons on walls, ground, or whatever, and the game uses a custom-built real-time recognition algorithm that identifies the sketch designs and instantly brings them to life. It's supposedly pretty forgiving, and it'll recognize a firearm as long as the critical components are there, like a trigger, body, magazine stock, barrel, even if the drawing deviates significantly from a standard template. To accommodate the hybrid gameplay, the game features a dedicated mouse sensitivity specifically for the drawing phase. So you can have an actual aiming and shooting sensitivity, and then probably, I would assume, something a little lower for the drawing aspect of it. Or, you know what? I can see the ridiculous people that would build Fortnite stuff on a super high sensitivity and just whip out some ridiculous, like, big boy sniper rifle or something.
So there is absolutely that, but there is also, and I say this because of Mecha Chameleon,
yep,
there is also people who just have drawing tablets.
That's true.
And you can just mirror your primary screen.
Yeah.
And you just have a pen that you're just drawing whatever you want. And all of a sudden, you have a significantly faster and easier time drawing said weapon than anybody else.
I mean, 100%. But here's the thing. I'm also okay with that because I love this concept. And
oh, yeah.
You're going to have people that do have the drawing tablets. They're going to have an advantage. But at the end of the day, those people also have to be able to shoot the things they draw.
That's very true.
So unless they're multi-talented, they may struggle a bit. Maybe they try to use their drawing tablet to aim.
That's ridiculous.
That's the ridiculous portion. But I did have... So going through this and looking at this, I did have a question. And my question is, because it wasn't talked about in like the 15-minute video that I watched for this. What happens if you don't finish drawing? So does that drawing exist in the world? And if, like, let's say someone finds you while you're drawing, right? Because I think the whole thing here would be ridiculous if there was a safe space to draw in. You should be thrown onto the map, have to draw something. And, the advantage is if I draw a tiny little pistol, I get to go faster, maybe catch people off guard, as opposed to spending time to drawing something bigger and better or whatever. So operating off that assumption, if you aren't able to finish drawing something, does that stay on the wall and exist? And can someone else come by
and finish
it?
Yeah.
Because that would be super cool and unique. Because you could also potentially like start something in a corner that's like a really big project and like kind of defend it as people come by. And then after you finish defending it, like go back to working on it. Like how does that work? So I could see that being really interesting. I hope that's the case, that it just exists in the world and either you can come back and finish it or somebody else can finish it, because that would be super interesting to me.
I agree. I mean, I think you could probably also do something similar to the way that Counter-Strike and Valorant do, where you have like kind of a starting area, you have a brief preparation period.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe initially, but once the game has started, I feel like part of the aspect is that you need to draw something live. Now, I don't know if I mentioned it anywhere in here, but you can create a template. So maybe in the pre-launch that you're talking about,
template. Yeah,
you can draw something and that can be your template for the game. So you can choose to either generate that quickly. Maybe it's just a flat 2-second thing before it gets fully realized or whatever. Or you could try draw something new again. I don't know specifically because I only got to see clips of people playing it. But I think I think a compromise between the two would definitely be fine. But I do think at some point you need to be drawing something while in danger, I think.
Yeah, most likely. Honestly, I don't know if this is going to be more like Call of Duty style or more like Counter-Strike style, or specifically CSGO. If it was CSGO style, I think it would be interesting to, instead of having a currency, you have an amount of chalk.
So you do. I hadn't quite gotten to that yet, but basically everything is based off of the amount of chalk that you have. So you are drawing weapons, that takes chalk. Those weapons utilize chalk for ammunition. So there is a chalk economy, basically, where whatever chalk is left over from your drawing is now what's used as your ammunition. So, for example, if you draw a weapon with a big giant drum mag that holds a lot of rounds, you could basically quickly consume all your chalk.
That's hilarious.
And be gone. So there is a bit of that there. So your request does exist. I did find, I mean, we'll come back to some of the other things, but just because we're talking about it, they did have someone they used all of their chalk to draw a massive grenade. And I mean, extremely massive grenade. And then they couldn't throw it because the system saw how massive it was and it would weigh too much. So when they tried to throw it, it basically just fell at their feet. And then it was a giant explosion.
That's amazing.
It killed everything around them, including themselves. So it does seem like there is a lot of leeway in what you can do with obviously actual, let's say, physics taken into question as much as you can with a chalk shooting game.
Right.
So some examples that I remember from the videos rather than the game demo would be like drawing C4 in a spot, or potentially drawing like the Call of Duty explosive RC car. Those types of things. I don't know exactly what you're going to be able to draw.
Yeah.
But there are unique things like that. You can also draw scopes. So if you draw a really short one, the game will interpret it as like a red dot. a longer one, you get more of a medium zoom when you actually use the weapon, and obviously a long scope, you get a big long zoom. So all of that is built into it. You can also draw things like hatchets and throwing knives. So if you wanted to change it up a little bit, you could draw those. I wonder if the game will also be like you're carrying a throwing knife, so you move faster. I don't know if it's going to affect the actual player too. I imagine if you draw a big heavy minigun, you're going to move slow. So I don't see why the reverse would be opposite as well. True as well. But
that's interesting, honestly.
Yeah. And so I know I said algorithm earlier, but it's a AI essentially that's running on one of their servers to interpret these drawings. So when we talk about things that AI would be good for, I think this is a prime example. Now, I don't know if this game will ever come to fruition, if it'll come out and be good or anything along those lines. But this is the type of out of box thinking that I want to see for AI being used. Yeah. Right? Because like I said earlier, and you can disagree or agree with me if you want, but I don't see a system like this existing in any decent enough capacity, because when you give players freedom of creativity, it gets stifling and frustrating when you immediately run into limits.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think something like this could exist without AI, but it would be more so like there's a set amount of guns that you can craft and attachments that you can craft, and that's it, right?
Because I think more along the lines, you're going to be drawing something and then it's fit into a preordained shape. Correct. Right? So you essentially have to draw something that's close to an SMG, and it gives you a generic SMG.
Yeah.
Obviously, it could still look like chalk, but it's not going to be the exact thing that you drew.
Right.
And it'll be harder to get the attachments right.
Yeah.
As well.
And I've seen stuff kind of like this where like you have to draw like spells on the screen.
Sure.
And something like that is honestly great. That game is very fun. But yeah, like if you want something this complex, it kind of has to be AI. I love the idea of a constantly improving, retraining AI that like consistently improves the game, because it's almost the same thing as players coming up with a meta, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%.
Right, and like discovering new things and trying new things and so on and so forth.
You could, to your point, you could even after the game, every now and then, especially if the AI isn't 100% sure on a drawing, it could reach out to that player in game after that match is finished and say, "Hey, you drew this in game. How well did it turn out to your expectations? Did it function exactly as you would expect it? If not, tell us what it was supposed to function like."
And I think that like you absolutely could use AI for things like this, but also like we talk about monster AI a lot, right? Which monster AI is actually just a series of if-thens, right?
Oh, sure.
It's just a lot of if, else if, else if, else if, else if, so on and so forth, right? So it always has a prioritization. And that prioritization can be as complex as, my health is at 50%, if, right? So on and so forth. But I think something like AI, namely in like Monster Hunter, would be sick. To watch monsters improve and get better at fighting you.
Well, I think that is the surface expectation. And I don't mean it surface as in shallow. Right. I think that's the thing at the top that you expect to happen first, which it already is happening, right? That's arc raiders. That's like that they're using AI for those enemies to more uniquely attack, because the goal isn't to flat out overwhelm the arc raiders. The goal is to make fights challenging and uniquely fight arc raiders or raiders. So that is something that's happening, and I do agree with you, but that is something I expect to be used moving forward. This is a more unique scenario, which I like seeing. I want to see more creative uses of AI in game that actively improve an experience that otherwise wouldn't even be close to the level that hopefully we see with something like this. And again, the game's not out. It could crash and burn, not ever come out, be terrible, whatever. But
Right.
I love the concept.
The concept is interesting for sure.
Alrighty. Moving on from that, Razer announced the Naga V3 Pro. Have you ever used any of the Naga mice, Heru?
So hilarious thing is that Demi has one.
Well, does she have the V2 or like the original?
I believe she has the V2. Yeah, I believe she has the V2.
Has the V2. Well, I doubt that it's necessarily time for her to upgrade, but there is a few new things being added to the V3 mouse, which might be of interest to many players, but obviously specifically WoW or MMO people. It will be $180, so got to drop that cash. It's going to have the same modularity that you've come to expect, where you have the side plates with the, whatever it is, 7-button, 6-button, and 2-button options, depending on the game you're playing.
Yep.
And I mean, I could go into the optical sensor, whatever, killers, and blah, 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 blah. None of that really matters to me. You can all... What's that?
Unnecessary.
Yeah, you can all go look up that stuff and, how long, 1 million clicks, whatever. I think the big thing in here is 155 hours on 2.4 gigahertz and weighing 97 grams for people that like a mouse without any of the extended side plates. However, they are adding a ring button. Now, it is not the first mouse to have a ring button. That would be the Logitech G600. And for those of you that don't know, that ring button is going to be the finger essentially next to your pinky, or your middle, between your pinky and your middle finger.
Okay.
When you have your hand on your mouse, that button that basically is right on the side of the mouse, and if you have a Naga, it kind of lays on that edge of the mouse. That is going to be a lockable button, so you can disable it. That way, you don't accidentally click something if you're not using it, but you can enable it to be a really nicely placed and easy to reach button without having to move your hand all the way around. So...
Oh, it's a push down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, not an actual button. It's basically like a third mouse click, essentially.
Yeah. So the Logitech has one as well. Namely, it's the MX Master. But instead, it's on your thumb. You push down on your thumb.
Yeah, like down on the floor plate, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. I find it really funny because I know I'm the MMO player.
Uh-huh.
I hate MMO mice. I hate them with a burning passion. They are. They're very, very busy. And not only that, my biggest complaint with them is that it's impossible to play any other game with them.
Well, you do have the swappable plates, though.
That's true, but also I don't like Razer. They suck.
Whoa. Razer is a fine product, and they deliver a substantial piece of equipment. I mean, I don't care. But
they also deliver double clicks constantly.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I know I'm not wrong.
I did pick I do have a Corsair mouse, so
yep.
I do, but hey, it's one of the most popular mice out there, right? So it's doing something right. They also added basically the Logitech Smart Wheel. So depending on how fast you spin the wheel, it determines how far of a cycle you actually want to go through as well. So basically...
Is that the one that auto-locks and unlocks itself?
So I don't know about specifically locks, but it's going to interpret like how many clicks you're actually trying to go for. So if you do a really short one, then it's going to assume that you probably only wanted one cycle, right? If you do longer, it's going to try to do longer. you can look up for the tech for how it works for Razer, but basically it's trying to interpret how far you actually wanted to go and whether or not it's locking and unlocking the wheel for infinite spin type thing too. So it's basically a mouse that they've added everything to. Because all of this stuff is not unique. The ring finger button was already on a Logitech mouse. Logitech already has the smart wheel. The Nagas have already had the swappable plates. So none of this is new, but they're all it's all being added to a single mouse, which I did find interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting, and it basically that freewheel thing is kind of interesting, but I don't know
on how well it works.
Razer just can't win me back. Like, that's really what it comes down to. I don't like it, and honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that the Logitech G900, I think it is, wasn't still on a micro USB port for it, for its charging port, like, I would probably still have one of those. If they made a USB-C model, I would swap immediately.
You're not going to get the Super Strike? Like the 90-gram mouse with the magnetic clicks so that you can adjust the actuation distance?
Is it actually 90 grams?
Something like that.
I thought it was lighter than that, like, significantly.
You can look it up. I thought it was somewhere around, like, the 70 to 90.
Yeah, because, like, one of my biggest complaints about most mice is the fact that they're too light, which I find really funny because so many people are like, but I want it to be light.
I feel like if you mainly play shooters, you want it light.
Yeah,
I feel like if you do anything else, you kind of like the substantial of the heavy mouse.
I was right, 60 grams.
Is it 60 grams? So it is substantially lighter.
Yes.
Than what I was saying.
That's just way too light.
But it's not as light. It's not as light as this mouse.
I know that Corsair mouse is insane.
So
very insane.
Yeah, but hey, I like it light for my shooters because I feel like I get less over aim, where you go a little too far. But again, it depends on the actual games that you prefer, and obviously everybody has a preference. So, interesting mouse. Heru and I are not going to be picking it up, so if you do pick it up, let us know how it works. I'm interested about the ring finger button. I think that's my most interesting thing, because I love mice with excess buttons for other type of games, like, because I got this one if I'm doing like a more single player game that I don't really care about.
Same mouse.
Oh yeah, hey, look at that. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So I do like all the extra buttons as an option for less competitive titles. So I love the ring finger button, but I did also see people say that had played with like the G600 that like it can cause hand cramps as you do it too much, just because of the weird kind of like down
the Logitech
squeeze.
MMO mouse.
I don't know if is that what that is, that G600.
I believe the G600 is the Logitech MMO mouse.
So there you go.
It is.
But that mouse came out a long time ago and hasn't been sold for a while. So
correct. And their wireless version, which I think was the 602 or 605 or whatever, it was a completely different mouse. Like, it literally didn't even look the same at all. But it was wireless. So it was in the same family, quote unquote, but yeah, it was wireless.
Yeah.
And then the 900, for those who don't know, is their ambidextrous mouse.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
And you can have buttons on either side.
So if you ever end up getting it, let us know how you like it.
Yes, please.
Or what you didn't like, if you didn't like anything. Alrighty. Moving on from Razer, let's get into a money-based game. Alrighty, civics and sociology, taking a look at some of the institutions around the gaming world. Specifically, we're talking about a game called BR1 Infinite. So, recent social media post by Darrah highlighted a new extraction shooter that was claiming it will pay players real money for playing. It allegedly offers $1 per kill and an earning rate of $10 an hour. So every time a player wants to spawn into a match, though, it will cost $1 And this is all actual real world money. So,
Okay.
before we get into it, Heru, are you going to play a game that costs you $1 every time you spawn?
All right, so there is a world where it could happen. I'm gonna preface it that way because there is absolutely a world where it could happen. However, that has to be a damn amazing game.
Man, because I struggle with it because it's like, I mean, you look at most of the shooters I've played, if not all of them, and I'm pretty sure I'm positive in every one of them, including even some of the other ones where you're expected to be a little bit more even because the thing is doing team damage, right? So I think in all of them, I've got a positive KD. So that in theory should be me earning money, right?
In theory.
I have a feeling that if this game was good in any capacity, it would instantly become the popular Twitch game, is what I would expect.
Yeah.
Because you would essentially be watching streamers compete for who could make the most money. You could, you see the Shrouds, the Burnt Peanuts, even some of the other non-super popular gamers, but, they're popular streamers who get into it because they don't care if they lose money, just to see what could happen. How long it survives, I don't know. The problem for me here is, and I'm not one of those people where I look at Call of Duty and go, oh my goodness, Call of Duty needs to get rid of skill-based matchmaking because I don't want to play a competitive match every time. It's full of sweats. I just want to come home and relax. I.e., I want to beat up on people that aren't as good as me and not play people that are as good as me, which I've never really understood that argument.
Yeah, same.
However, at the end of the day, I don't lose anything. Now, what happens when there's a cost to losing and not doing well? All that's left are the people that do well. And if that's the case, well, some people aren't going to be as good as others. That's just the nature of the thing. Not everybody can literally be the exact same skill across the board entirely. So you're going to have have-nots that eventually lose money, and if you're losing money, eventually you stop playing, and then the game dies out. So I think my problem here is that this recipe seems like a real easy recipe to a game dying very quick.
Oh, it absolutely could. I mean, any game that has any kind of ongoing cost, the game needs to be either addictive or amazing.
Yeah.
Which is usually addictive. So, it absolutely needs to be very good.
I mean, dude, imagine how, would Fortnite have become as popular if it cost $1 to spawn in every time?
Not remotely.
Yes, we keep ignoring the fact that you can make $1 for every kill you get. I understand, and there's plenty of people that would make potentially a decent chunk of money, but if you lost $20 in one match of whatever game you played, are you going to play that second game?
I mean, yeah, probably not, right? So, that's kind of my question, because it sounds like you said, you can go up to $10 and you get $1 per kill.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the spawn fee was $1.
Yeah, the spawn fee was $1, and I did not see if there was a limit on how many times you could spawn, or if you spent so much money that you got free spawns after that or not.
Right. There's a lot of things that they could do to kind of balance that out. But at the end of the day, if it's pay $1, get $1 per kill, I'm not quite understanding where the money's coming from.
Well, so supposedly, there's a buy-in, so you have to buy into a match,
Right.
and I assume that means you're committing that money potentially. So it's a pool of money that can be pulled from, and if that's the case,
Hmm.
I assume when you're out of money, you're out of the match. You lose. Then you have to
Okay.
choose another match and have a buy-in. And I did see where there potentially were different game modes with different costs associated with lives. I assume the
Right.
most expensive would be like the BR, with like the least expensive being Team Deathmatch, because I have a feeling Team Deathmatch would die quickly if it was literally $1 every death.
Oh
So it
yeah.
might have been like, like 10 cents every death instead or something like that. But
Yeah. I mean, I think even a BR, especially like if it's a BR with 100 players, like that's $10 to buy into a BR is too much.
yeah, per every
But
match.
like, yeah. So like the thing is like, how do they make money off of this? That's
I
where
ass-
I'm confused, because if every dollar that gets put into the game then goes to a player, they don't
yeah.
make any money.
I mean, maybe there's a service fee for per game or something, or maybe the money that you deposit into the game has a transaction service fee or whatever. There's got to
Okay,
be
that could be,
some
yeah.
sort of fee somewhere, is what I
Yeah.
imagine, and then the money after that is just exists within the system and players can do. I
Yeah.
want to know, because here's the thing: if you make money, it's
Mhm.
taxable, at least here in the United States. So,
Yeah.
do you get tax documents for playing this game if you do well? Because for like, I think for Steam, it's over $600, right?
Uh-huh.
So, if you earn $600 in a calendar year, which is like for a lot of people that are good at shooters, is not unrealistic if you played this a lot.
That's true, yeah.
Like, are you now having to submit your personalized sensitive information to this company so that they can send you tax documents
Not
to get the
necessarily.
money out?
Because like you don't, if you consider casinos, right?
Sure.
Um, I guess technically at casinos you do have to show them your driver's license, but I don't think you would have to show them your social security. That seems too much.
Well, I mean, sure, not your social, but you're going to have to show an ID, which name, address, driver's license
Yeah.
number, probably.
I mean, I get that, but at the exact same time, like, show me a live service game that doesn't require that in some form, you know?
What do you mean? Up until recently, you weren't required to show IDs to play games online. It's not like playing PUBG or Call of
Right.
Duty required an ID.
Correct. The ID portion is the part that you're hung up on, right? But
Yeah.
if the extent of what they need is a legal name, then
I don't think so, because
it,
if
it
it's if
probably
it's
wouldn't be.
tax
Yeah, they probably need
information, you
more.
look at anything where you're trying to get money from somebody that you earned, you sold something, you won something or whatever, you have to give enough information to correctly identify you and confirm you as a taxpayer. Like even in the EU, there's all kinds of EU stuff too that requires that.
Yeah, it definitely
So,
does.
but I mean that's more in the weeds type of stuff. So, getting into the background of the developer a little bit, Bravo Ready Studios is a Montreal-based company with a background rooted in gambling. So, if you
Weird.
wondered where this was going, the developer's social media presence actually stretches back 15 years to 2011. However, one of their profiles has undergone 7 distinct name changes, ultimately becoming Bravo Ready Studios in 2022. The company had previously developed a browser-based blockchain MMO called Cambria, where players could win the cryptocurrency USDC by looting rare artifacts. So, this company definitely is in the business of trying to take your money. So we'll see what happens with it. I do know that there was talk about potentially like a skin market as well, similar to, I would assume, like Delta Force, or to a lesser degree like Counter-Strike, obviously, or any of the Valve titles. I do think that this has a potential to make it out, because apparently one of its investors is Krafton of PUBG fame. So it does look like there is money to eventually make this happen. And they did talk about beta testers getting paid out $100,000 already. However, I would like to point out that the beta testers did not have to spend any of their own money for spawns. So how willing would people be if they had to spend money to play? I don't know.
Yeah.
But
all right, so I'm kind of stuck on this because it is rather important.
Okay. Hit me.
The company can give you a form fillable W2G. Okay. I'm serious.
I'm not laughing because I think you're lying. I'm laughing because it's funny.
Casinos do the same thing. They hand you a form W2G, which states the amount of winnings that you had, which contains no information of yours. But because they handed it to you personally, it is now your responsibility to claim it.
I mean, that's fair. I don't want to be audited, though.
I mean, fair. That's the thing about it, though, right? Is like the company doesn't care anymore, because all they have to do is make you sign up with an email address and then send that blank W2G form with the winnings on it at the end if you make over a certain amount. Well, granted, like, W2G is specifically gambling, but this is gambling at the end of the day. Like, you could almost treat this as poker.
Yeah.
Like, it is just straight up poker, right? You're betting $1 that you can kill more than one person to make money, right? Yeah. This is gambling, 100%. So I still think that the form W2G does fit, and it probably would be what they provide you at the end of the year.
Makes sense to me. Then they don't have to do all the legwork for it.
Yeah, but with that, you do have to make, I think it's over 1,200. No, it is. It's 2,000 now in 2026.
Is it 2,000 now? Because I'm pretty sure it had gone down to 600 at one point.
I'm staring at it.
Yeah,
the old threshold, it literally has an old threshold and a 2026 threshold. What I'm staring at. It has sweepstakes, lotteries, wagering pools, or poker tournaments, net of buy-in, right? So on and so forth. You can look at a lot of different options, right? But I think at the end of the day, would you call it a poker tournament or would you call it a lottery?
Well, it's definitely not a lottery because you can affect the outcome.
Right.
So it would be more along the lines of a poker tournament.
So here's the funny thing about that. All of these old thresholds have different numbers. All of the new thresholds are $2,000. Flat.
Yes, they were $2,000 before the Biden administration. I'm pretty sure the Biden administration...
This is 2026,
I don't know if it was... Well, yes, but 2,000 before that administration. I don't know if they fully were able to change it back yet. I don't know for certain. I don't know for certain. I just know the bank transfers by law switched to $600.
That's fair.
But I'm also not a tax man, so...
But are you a gambling man?
I am also not a gambling man.
There you go. This explains why we don't have a lot of say in any of this.
All right. So
the best that we can do,
gamble is what you're telling me.
I mean, I've gambled, but like the best that you can do if you're really interested in this is read their TOS.
Read their TOS And also be aware of your local tax laws.
Yes. And like, honestly, look deeply into how this company is going to be handling those financials before you do anything. Because the last thing you want is to be a part of a class action against this company that doesn't make you your money back.
Yeah, I would highly recommend, if this game does come out, not depositing large amounts of money.
Yeah, correct. Don't let them turn into Starbucks and become a bank.
Yeah, don't. Well, I don't know. It's worked out for Starbucks. So.
Yeah, I'm aware. That's the problem.
Alrighty, let's move on to our final segment, lab work. All right, this one's a little older, but there was some recent news, so I figured we'd give it an actual discussion, especially because, Heru, you mentioned it at one point. So if you're interested in talking about it, we may as well talk about it. But Halo Campaign Evolved, a recent release within the last few weeks. Somewhat successful. From the sales, it sold approximately 1.2 million copies in the first 2 weeks, with a pretty even split between Xbox and PlayStation at 42 and 41% respectively, and 17% on Steam, with about 232,000 copies sold. That's about $67 million it made. I have a feeling that its budget was that or more than that, so I doubt that it actually made any money. Unfortunately.
It's gotta be more.
Now, to be fair here, this doesn't include Game Pass numbers, so the people playing it, the estimates I think are about like 2.1 million people, but not a huge amount. It is obviously a remake of an older game, and unsurprisingly, apparently a troubled development. So you would figure for a remake where the template already exists, make same thing look better. Like, now, to be fair, there's a lot between A and B. I get it for game development, but everything's there. You don't have to design any game mechanics. You don't have to do any story. You don't even have to do any scripting. All of that is ready to go. However, that was not the case here. A lot of struggles. So it stemmed from the shift to Unreal Engine 5, which a lot of people bemoaned that they were doing at the time when they announced it, as opposed to using the original or porting the original Blam engine, which they did initially try to do so that they didn't have to do everything from scratch, but ultimately they discovered that no, they would have to do 100% of everything, including all the assets from scratch. External studio Abstraction was recruited in 2023 to help modify the original game's work and make it compatible with the new engine. However, they were prematurely kicked off the project due to unrealistic deadlines, and their work was thrown out and completely redone, which apparently caused a lot of bugs and AI problems that we'll get into later. The game originally was planned to have real-time cutscenes, which I believe the original did, to show off custom armor and weapons, and that had to be scrapped because the external team working on the cinematic struggled and barely made it in time for release. So, what's left? And obviously, a lot of discussion about mismanagement and unnecessary obstacles led to the cancellation of the multiplayer project, because Campaign Evolved, as the title insinuates, is literally only the campaign, which I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that the main draw of a Halo game is the campaign.
Nope, definitely not. At least not anymore, right? Maybe like Halo 1.
For this original title, but absolutely since Halo 2. The campaign was amazing in Halo 2 and 3 and Reach. Yes. Everybody loved it. But no one ever was like, yeah, I only bought it for the... I'm not no one ever. I'm not going to speak in absolutes. But the majority of people definitely bought it for the multiplayer. 100%. So
yeah, definitely.
This is a crime to not have multiplayer in Halo, which we knew it didn't have, but we just hadn't really gotten into it. To get into some specifics, terrible AI. There are multiple instances of AI just standing around and not actually doing any attacking. I've seen plenty of videos where most of the enemies are eliminated, and then as Master Chief, the player is walking along, he goes, walks up to and goes, wait a minute, this is an elite, just standing here doing nothing, not even moving, just kind of chilling. So you're going to struggle there. I think one of the things that everybody loved about the original was the fact that you could get things to where they were not supposed to be. There's a lot of famous, like, hey, if you take the Banshee here, you can actually get it to this boss room. Or if you wedge the Warthog here, you can get it over the block obstacle, and now you have it for the next segment, and you can drive around with your Marines and stuff. Which was always a fun time, because even though there were obviously restrictions placed on the map, there was enough room to be creative and figure things out and do things you weren't supposed to, which, if anyone knows any gamers, most of them love to do things they're not supposed to. All of that uniqueness was removed. On top of that, we already talked about how the Halo ring looked aesthetically in a previous week, but as we saw more of the game, you also saw things like the whole tunnel segment with the tank, where the entire tunnel is lit, but if you go back and look at the original game, it's very dark. And when you get to a segment where the ceiling has collapsed and there's a hole open in the ceiling, there's, light rays coming through, which draws your attention to the sky, where you can see the Halo ring. But in the redesigned version of this game, that whole tunnel's lit, so it's a lot easier to miss that hole and not even see that it's there and look up or see anything. So aesthetically, also looking like a different game. And I think the biggest, most infamous example, which Heru did mention to me as well, is the very infamous, whatever you want to say, camouflaged Covenant units, where the elites would basically go invisible, and it was almost impossible to actually detect them. You would have to listen for them and kind of like shoot in the general direction to tag them, at which point, tagging them would cause them to kind of shimmer and see the outline, and then you would fight them. So it was a fun segment of, oh my god, there's invisible assassins out for me. I'm jumping around and shooting at ghosts. So,
literally.
Right? So it ended up being a fun time. And in the remake, because God forbid any player has to figure anything out for themselves, the game explicitly tells the player via dialogue that the guards are using stealth armor and then not only does it tell you what's happening so you don't get to experience it, it then has the audacity to put visual markers over the invisible enemies so that you can see exactly where the invisible enemies are.
What the hell?
What is the point of a invisible enemy?
Yeah, pretty much. Like
what? I mean, that's like saying, you know what? I want this tank to have 1 HP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mm-hmm. That's your whole health bar. 1 HP.
Now go out there and tank that damage.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what's really interesting is I don't know how it was back in original Combat Evolved, but like Halo 2 and Halo Reach, because I didn't play 3, the invisible enemies, they weren't really all that hard to see. They kind of distorted the image.
They gave them like a more of a prominent shimmer later in the series, because they were famously very difficult in that first game.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But you go.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about it, I think, last week with the whole Pragmata thing with the spiders. Like, holy crap. If that's your first experience with invisible enemies, I'm sorry.
Yep. I mean, but I think that's the point. I mean,
yeah.
Elden Rings, Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, whatever. Difficult games are popular. They might not be popular with everyone, but they are popular. There is no reason that you can't have a somewhat difficult and challenging segment in a standard difficulty game. There's no reason that you have to avoid that. Why baby the players? Let them figure it out. Keep them on their toes. And once they get past that segment, you know what? They're going to probably be looking for more of those enemies, even if you don't put any more in the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Right? It keeps them on their toes. Where is the tension? If I'm not, if I can't see it, if I can always see an invisible enemy, there's no tension. I don't care. You've basically given me a normal enemy with no textures.
Yeah.
Like, there's no point to it. You've ruined what made it interesting in the first place, and it's a sign of not understanding game development.
Yeah, and like I'm not gonna put it on the developers necessarily, but like this is a company whose C-suite doesn't understand that games, especially single-player games, are supposed to be an experience.
Yep.
That's the whole reason you're buying an experience. There are very few people out there who replay single-player games. Very rare. But there are plenty of people who play through that single-player experience or co-op experience, whatever you want to call it, depending on what the game is. That and those memories stick with them forever.
So, Heru, give me 2 of your favorite RPGs.
Does Monster Hunter Wild count?
No. It's more of an
WoW
action
count?
RPG. Give me something with a substantial story.
A substantial story. Okay,
Yeah.
Death Stranding.
Wow. Okay, Death Stranding. Okay. What's your favorite part of the game without any spoilers? You can just start saying what it is without going fully into detail.
My favorite part of the game was easily like the actual mechanics of the game, trying to dodge enemies and get around them.
I assume there's
whatnot.
a specific moment that probably comes to mind too, like a specific instance in which you have to do that. Now, is that instance either the beginning or the end?
Neither.
No. I look at the original BioShock. The biggest memories I have of that game are a few specific examples in the middle of that game. Mass Effect 2, one of my favorite games of all time, is some of the side events that you had to do for characters that aren't the beginning or the end. It's the experiences you had along the way. And if your goal on a game remake is to just get from the beginning to the end without providing those unique experiences along the way, to your point, it's not going to be memorable.
No, it's a money grab.
Yep. Which is a bummer to me. But that's where we are. We've talked about it before. I mentioned other remakes in previous past, especially when we talked about the Halo ring, where people working on the remake or the game don't understand what made the original special. And I think it's a problem. I think if you're going to do a remake, I don't know if you need to have a council of gamers that loved the original that has veto power or suggestion power, but you need something because you need to recapture what made the original special, not just a storyboard that's now been fleshed out a second time. So
yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, it's absolutely dumb. These are the same companies, by the way. These are the same companies that are like single player games don't sell.
Yet your single player games don't sell.
Exactly.
Because you're not making great single player games.
Exactly. Like your single player games don't sell, but look at Skyrim.
Look at Skyrim. I mean, there's so many. I mean, look at any of the Resident Evil catalog where Capcom is talking about how much money they're making because they're doing some of the best sales they've ever done in their career because they're making good games.
Yep. I mean, Pragmata.
Resident Evil Requiem. It's not even remakes. Resident Evil Requiem, albeit a sequel, is a new title. Pragmata, a brand new IP, has done well. You can make good single-player games that sell well. You may not make all the money, which we constantly complain about, so we don't need to get fully back into it, but you can make money if you make good games.
You also don't need to put $200 million or more into a game to make it good. You just don't.
You definitely don't. But companies are going to apparently have to lose billions before they learn that. So
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, gamers will eventually get wise when it comes to these remakes, and they're going to start waiting. Because a lot of them are going to start logically explaining to themselves that I've already waited 15 years, 20 years, whatever. What's another month to see how it plays out? Right?
Or
that's
what's another
going to
4
be
months
logic.
until there's a sale?
Right, there's that too. So, like, we're going to get wise on it. People are going to stop buying them. You're not going to be able to run or just like ride on the coattails of your IP's name for forever. You just can't.
Unfortunately, actually, fortunately, they can't. So hopefully they learn a lesson at some point. And on that note, I feel like I hear the bell. There it is. Alrighty, people, close your books and pack those bags. That's all we have time for this week. Just so you know, we are going to have a few tests in the future. It is a $10 buy-in per test. However, every point above 90%, you do make $1. So be ready for that as we go into next week, and I look forward to taking your money. I hope you enjoy your time off, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
See ya.